It is my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me. Bitcoin will go to fucking zero. It is my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me. Bitcoin will go to fucking zero. It is my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me. Bitcoin will go to fucking zero. It is my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me. Bitcoin will go to fucking zero, 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 It is my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me. Bitcoin will go to fucking zero. It is my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me. Bitcoin will go to fucking zero. It is my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me. Bitcoin will go to fucking zero. It is my humble opinion, there's nothing humble about me. Bitcoin will go to fucking zero, 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 zero,
Right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How's it going, everybody? Have you had a fun day? Has it been one of those? It's been a fun day, or has it been a bit meh? Good morning, what's up? Let's go. Charlie in the house, indeed. Let's go. Hello, Crypto AM17 rolling in on his billion X on BSC chain in the Rari. Love to see it. Love to see it. One of them fun dog days? Yeah, what's good? AIY? Wow, that really... I'm hungover as fuck today. Just to put it out there. It's been one of those days. What was the intro? That's a really good question. It was just... I typed into YouTube and it just literally came up with it. I'm not even joking, but based on like the fact that I've seen it before and stuff. Do I think Bitcoin is going to zero? No, please don't take it as like financial advice. Obviously, none of this stream is financial advice. It's for educational purposes only. If you're going to invest in something like crypto, be prepared to lose 100% of your money. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you... sure none of you are going to just instantly open up a 100x leverage long off the back of this. That is the link there for the song, and before anyone asks, because I'm going to go over it later, there is the link to Spaghetti, and just for obviously a good measure as well, we're going to put the telemetry by Bonkbot link in there as well, because I'm so helpful. And what have I done? There you go, 100x likes. Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, firstly, thank you all for being here It's a Tuesday evening. The market's been pretty amazing apart from maybe the last 12 hours. The last 12 hours can kind of go fuck themselves. But apart from that, I mean, we've had a pretty brilliant couple of weeks, right? It's been since down here, or maybe it just feels like a couple of weeks. Maybe it's actually a week. But we've certainly had a lot of activity, right? Bitcoin going up 15-16%, really starting an uptrend. Yeah, it's been good overall, I think. It's been good overall, even if today's been a bit painful. I'm going to come on to telemetry by Bongbot. Not too much has happened in the last week in terms of developments, but obviously they are the legends that support the stream. And we've seen a little bit of an uptick last week on Pump Fun and Pump Fun volumes, which is one of the reasons why it gave me like a lot of confidence to take along on Pump Fun last week, because you kind of saw this downtrend in terms of on-chain volumes or this uptick. And when you get that paired with like spaghetti and this kind of relative strength, it really gives you a lot of angles to look at and go, well, it kind of makes sense that if actually the trenches are becoming a little bit more alive, which like yesterday would indicate, like obviously this is an in-play day, like this day hasn't closed, it starts telling you a story, right? And if their buyback and burn starts going up, then you would think that that's bullish and so on and so forth, and we're in this like revenue meta. Now, there's a lot of looking at BSC, because obviously BNB is at all-time highs and it's just up-only mode and it's just scam pumping everywhere. There's stuff like Asta, which has ran astronomically, pardon the pun. I mean, even now it looks pretty good from like a spot perspective. I don't really want to trade this on perps, but in terms of like structure, it doesn't look too bad at all. You've got a very clean resistance, you've got consistent higher lows, etc. And it looks like it's probably ready for a breakout at some point. That said, I think that the obvious meta will at some point be the Bitcoin rotation into, so I think Bitcoin dominance actually runs up a bit. So I think we start severely running on Bitcoin at some point. I don't think that's right now. Obviously we've just had a little pullback and we'll come on to that. And we've got BNB season at the moment, which is, parabolic. It is running like an absolute tank, which is amazing, apart from the fact that I longed it. Where was it? I longed it way back here, down in the 600s. I think it was back in December, and I played this breakout with decent size. And obviously, the trade was actually almost a year later that it paid off and got rewarded. Now, if I look at this, and I look at this with a little bit of hindsight, I see this. I see this wonderful parabola. And it does feel quite parabolic in nature in terms of we've had this mass rotation to memes, right? On chain, and there's all these BSC memes that are popping off 100x today and so on and so forth. Now, why is all this relevant to telemetry? Well, because I think that we come back to Sol at some point, right? I think Sol paved the way. I think we'll play Sol memes as a risk-on beta eventually. And I think once BNB has kind of had its day in the sun, which it absolutely thoroughly deserves, we'll see people getting horny over Solana, particularly because of where it is. So that's kind of my shield, to be at least experimenting on chain and getting used to and comfortable with some tools on it, alright? That's kind of my thought process. We'll come on to Sol in a minute and all that kind of stuff. But looking at this, like, this is like the end of a euphoric parabola, right? Potentially. Like, I always get a lot more cautious when I see things in this kind of structure. And then if I look at that compared to like Solana, and I go, oh yeah, should have deleted that before the stream, eh? Good job I didn't take it. I've literally been so hangover today. But you look at like Solana from a structure perspective, and you go, like, it is tapping up against this former high, and anyone will know that I love the all-time high retests, right? Even if it's this, like, there's this absolute cap on Sol, and we've attacked it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and from a structure perspective, Sol doesn't look that bad, right? We are slowly but steadily creating a series of higher lows, the first lower high in a while, but we'll come down here. If that acts as support and we start running up, then this will break, and then we get a full-on run on Solana. Yeah, and I think that's what causes a migration onto Solana meme coins. Now, there's a few Solana meme coins that have been absolutely ripping. Useless being one of them up here. I think we covered a very shit long that didn't work out over here, but luckily in Paragon I took a long down here, I think it was. So the breakout of this up here, I'll come onto it on here actually. Yeah, over here. So it's doing really, really well. It's one of the strongest alts out there at the moment, and you know it is a Sol meme, which is pretty wild. And if you look at performance the last few days, you know, it's up here, along with Zcash, bizarrely. Thought we had to change the world. You mean you can make money here? Yeah. I think we did, like, we used to be all about trying to make money. All about trying to change the world with crypto, and now we're all about trying to make money. I think, you know, the original principles of what like Satoshi stood for in terms of privacy, being able to transact across the globe for minimal cost and no intermediary party, you know, fully decentralized, is a little bit lost, I think, in translation. But anyway, it's what it is. Is what it is. So yeah, like, useless going really, really well. Pretty nuts, considering like it is absolutely ripping while the rest of the market dies. Even like this as a range reclaim setup is lovely, you know, huge relative strength going into it. But yeah, I mean, how are we all feeling about Bitcoin? Are we thinking this is the bottom? Are we thinking, I mean, yeah, feel free just to shout tickers at me like some like autistic retard in the back of the classroom. Like, my shitcoin, my shitcoin. Yeah, so basically like, what are we all feeling about Bitcoin? Though we small flushes, but we're going north. Altcoin can't fix the world right now. Yeah. Pulled some KMNO. We'll have a look. Shitcoin. What's shit? Is shitcoin a shitcoin? Patient space, as Doc says. Bitcoin will be fine. So us we have to worry about. Yeah, true. Probably ranges. Yeah. 12k. Oh, I like that. I like that. I did tweet something the other day, didn't I? And I have a tendency of doing this. I tweeted something ridiculous like this, with like a stop loss down here, and obviously like, oh, sorry, not stop loss, target down here. It was something like that, wasn't it? I think it got stopped out. I'll have to check that actually, because otherwise that's I'm gonna have to apologise profusely. But I said, chat, what do you think of this trade I did? And everyone's like, you're a retard. And obviously, like, now it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Any ETH ideas other than Cook Week 1? We'll come on to ETH, and we'll come on to Pump Fun, and all that kind of stuff. I just kind of wanted to see how euphoric people are around in the chat, because it's actually quite a good measure, I think, of, not consensus, but just how people are feeling. I mean, personally, I was pretty euphoric yesterday. You know, I hit a decent BNL number. It was a good day. Ran it up pretty turbo, even found a trade whilst like literally passing past my office. I needed to go for a shit, and I looked in my office and I was like, oh, what's going on here? And I saw a little bit of debauchery on the old spaghetti. Well, I've been getting a lot of questions about spaghetti, because in these conditions, I'll just put it in the chat again because there's going to be people here. And now I've got a lot of educational content on this in the Paragon group, so I'm just going to shill it there. I'm just going to blunt shill it because there's hours and hours and hours of content on it. But for those of you not familiar with spaghetti, the idea of it is you are looking at the performance of all the assets on it since this point here, since wherever you're zoomed in or out. So if I zoom out, it's now changed to this point here, yeah? And you can see that there are ones that just massively outperform the market, and there are ones that massively underperform the market for whatever reason. You know, there's FUD, there's $1 trillion of insider selling and all this kind of stuff, or supposedly, allegedly, not creating allegations, otherwise there'll be legal troubles. But yeah, for whatever reason, my philosophy is always you want to be long the strong horse, and it's quite difficult to find in the sea of tickers the strongest, right? So like, look at this. This is everything that's listed on Binance. So supposedly like tier 1 shit, yeah? And then you've just got like massive fucking scams. Like, look at this. Like, yeah, that's organic, isn't it, mate? Love that. Love that. Lovely trading. Really organic. But whatever. Like, people are making money out of all this stuff, so I'm happy for them. It's just, yeah, I tend to stay away from a lot of this shit. Let's have a peep, though. Let's go back to Spaghetti and go back to the rotational trade I took last night. So I'm often operating on very, very low time frame on Spaghetti. So bearing in mind what we're looking at is, you know, what's the market done in the last however long. Now I anchor on these pivot points, and all this is there's literally a indicator called pivots. You can pivot high, low. You can configure it however you want. It's the highest 50-50, so 50 bars in front, 50 bars ahead. Picks the high, picks the low, tells you where that is, right? So the reason that's important is because theoretically, I believe that the entire market hinges around whatever the fuck Bitcoin is doing. And you can see that on this chart, right? Here, we start dumping. Oh, look, we start dumping. Like here, we've actually got a tiny dump, but Launchcoin's pretty illiquid, so we'll ignore that. You know, this is dumping. S&P and US 100, not necessarily 100% correlated, but what I use this for is just to see, like, is it stocks dumping or is it crypto dumping, and one is causing the other two? Like, is one leading and lagging? But there's a nuance around that, but I'm not going to go into it. And then, you know, similarly, Asta dumped and this dumped. So, like, you can just see the Bitcoin sets the direction of the market. Now, on occasion, there's the odd coin which holds up despite the fact Bitcoin is dying. Now, that is a testament of huge, huge, huge relative strength. So whenever you see that, it's not a free trade, because there's no such thing as a free trade, right? But if you can line that up with decent price action, you've got a pretty good chance of getting a rotation out of it, yeah? And like, that's exactly what happened with Pump, which I was at AFK for, having my dinner. I've been pretty inactive today because I'm hungover as fuck. And, you know, you got this, like, reasonable rotation on Pump. Now, it's not the best. It's not as incredible as some of the rotations have been the other day. But it's still one of the best rotations in the market. And it was kind of given to you on a plate with Spaghetti, yeah? And when you get the, you know, lineup of price action, as in, like, so I always look at things as, like, ranges. So like, this is a little range down here, yeah? And you've got this. I mean, it's pretty hard to trade on perps because it's relatively illiquid. But, you know, buying spot on a breakout, stop under here, just trailing it and riding it up for a rotation. You know, it's not easy, but it's telling you that there's strength here. So the trade I took last night was, I was walking past and I saw, what was it? Tuesday? Nope, it's Tuesday today. Just zoom back in, zoom back out. It's also how I did like a 2x on Launchcoin and stuff like that, right? So you see a load of like relative strength, and you just see, starting here. Let's go here. So we basically had this massive like rotation on Altcoin. And Altcoin hasn't really been too in play. It was a bit meh. I can't remember when I entered it specifically. I put it in the group and was like, yeah, I've just, you know, smallish size because I was pretty, well, I was tanked. And it was a 1 minute rotation, you know, it's not like I'm loading up on a 4-hour chart and smashing an enormous size, etc. But you get this like pump, you get this move here. And you can see that it's massively out of kilter with the rest of the market. And here, the rest of the market is pretty much dead. Like, it's all sat under BTC in terms of strength, in terms of performance up to this point. And it just starts ripping. So the first sign is here, and it kind of puts it on the radar. And then the second sign's over here as it basically breaks out. You know, it's breaking out of this trend here. It's breaking out of all of this. And so I aped some. I basically put my stop underneath, like 1% underneath my entry, and walked away and sold the top rather luckily as I went to bed last night. It was quite funny, really. Where is my little thing? But yeah, like Spaghetti just gave me that trade, right? It was just standing out like a sore thumb. Well, I literally cashed out, like, yeah. It's just like, bosh. Sold it all there, and then it fucking died. So see ya. But the point of the story is, you know, we caught a lot of this. A lot of that. Here. No, here. So I told you I was fucking hanging today, boys and girls. So basically caught this run up because of Spaghetti, purely because of the relative strength, and purely because of like this. You've got this real nice price action across here. You've got this resistance, strong breakthrough, retest, go. You know, that as a trade on relative strength, it was literally something like this, like that. You know, 6-hour trade. If you can trend follow that for a little while, then you get, you know, a really nice runner. Now, it's like now, right? If I saw some Altcoin strength on relative strength, I'm looking at these lows, right? I'm looking at these lows and I'm going, from a price action perspective, I kind of like to take that. Because we've had, you know, strong redonkulous sell-off, massively oversold. There's a div here, div's already played out. We failed to really break and clean that high. Oh, sorry, so like clear this range and start running it back. But now we're at this point of, okay, let's try and do something on stream. We're at this point of, it's been pretty brutally suppressed, right? In this price action here. It's just a little low time frame downtrending channel. Now, I'm not saying it's gonna pop. I'm not saying it's gonna go like that. I'm not saying it's going to do this, right? I have got no fucking idea what it's going to do. If I had to bet, I would say I think it probably either goes like this and reclaims, and we do something like this, or it breaks out here, right? I don't think it's going to just josh around down here too much. And the reason I think that is that we're in volatile conditions, and so on and so forth, and it's not really too rangy, yeah? We ranged up here, we've had some volatility, had a tiny bit of mean reversion, but I think this at least goes to the high. Now, while I'm thinking about that, I'm going, okay, like how strong is Altcoin? Like, is it something that I actually want to play? Let's take replay mode off. And we'll go into like live rotations. I'm usually like on the 5-15 second charts, right? And if I'm interested in anything, I'll tend to highlight them. So I'll find them in this mess and I will plop a little line on there. And really, the whole market's a bit stagnant compared to what it was, yeah? If I go back to this low down here, Altcoin looks pretty shit. Asta looks much better. You know, long in Altcoin right now, yeah. My bet, having seen the relative strength, is that it's probably just going to do this and maybe reclaim, yeah. And maybe on the reclaim it pushes some relative strength, but you can see that it's a relatively weak asset right now. And it's just for this rotation, right? It's for this 1 second or 15 second chart. I'm not saying it's dog shit. I'm not saying it's going to zero. I'm not saying anything like that, right? So if it's your bags, I'm sorry. I just picked this coin because I traded it like this last night, yeah? But that's kind of how I'm using it. Now, that can change really, really quickly because I'm usually interested in whatever's down here. I'm usually interested in whatever is up here or down here. You want something that's moving a lot compared to Bitcoin, right? And that's kind of the risk premium attached to altcoins, because if your altcoin is moving basically in line with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's doing this and your altcoin's doing this, we might as well be in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's much more liquid, much less likely to just go bang minus 10% in a shitty illiquid candle and you get fucking slipped out your ass on, you know, a couple $100,000 just for doing nothing, yeah? You might as well trade Bitcoin if it's in this region. So when stuff like down here starts showing strength, and there's like a price action set up to give you that confidence of an invalidation and gives you the structure, that's when you play a rotation, yeah? So even something like this, I could be really tempted by. Especially if you start getting some relative strength. And again, I've probably picked a bad example because fuck, when it's just got relative weakness at the moment. But does that make sense? Does that kind of show you how, well, firstly, there's not free trades, I'll never call them free trades, but there's decent trade ideas coming from Spaghetti. You know, you can see that Pump was one of the strongest coins by an absolute country mile. You know, the fact that everything else is dumping, like this here, I want you to lock that into your brain if you want to be a Spaghetti trader. That there is like one of the biggest signals that you can have to go, fuck me, take a look at this coin. Everything is dumping. Everything's recovering pretty fucking terribly, except this. For some reason. And it's usually one of two reasons. It's an illiquid piece of turbo dog shit and someone spent $20 long in it. Or it's actually going to have a decent rotation. And it can be both. And obviously it depends on what you've got on this chart. Yeah, feeling good taking the shit trades are top tier. Yeah. How far do you look back? So when I'm looking back, I'm usually looking back at rotations based on when the low or the high is, depending on what I'm trying to do, yeah? So if I'm trying to kind of, like now, we are currently in a downward rotation, yeah? This was the high, we're going down, Bitcoin is trending down, let's have a peep. We're at 120k now, Jesus. Yeah, please guys, stop selling. Tell Kobe, someone DM Kobe and tell him to stop fucking selling. Like, there's, like, that was the relief there, supposedly. So if I look at, like, there's not a divergence there. I'm looking for a div. So, like, that's a div there, right? Because you've got the lower lows on price. Bosh, bosh, bosh. And the higher lows on momentum. So to here. But that was the divergence, and it's kind of played out. Yeah, it's literally played out. And now it's just dumping more. Pretty wild. And when you take this in the context of like the pump chart and the fact that the pump chart is going, you go, what the fuck? But yeah, sadly, I'm not long this. I'm not long this. But yeah, I mean, if I was playing my system, I should be. What about Bert? It's holding up pretty well. You're looking at the 5 minute for this? No, I mean, I look at the 1 second, to be honest, or 5 second, or 15 second, or 1 minute, 5 minutes. Like, I'm down here. 1 second's usually a bit too much. So I tend to like try and go for like 5 second rotations, which a lot of people are like, Jesus fuck, you must be autistic. And I'm like, yep, I am. You know, I like seeing stuff move. And maybe it's ADHD or something like that, but buying something on a 4-hour chart is just boring as fuck from a trading perspective intraday. I think I've got ADHD probably in terms of, like, I like it when the market kind of instantly gives you feedback on whether your idea is right or wrong. And when you're trading low time frame rotations, you know, I'll take 4 losses in a row, lose like X% each time, bang, 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 and then I'll make 1 trade and I'll be back up and I'll be, you know, in the green for the day. My average trade duration's a bit higher, actually, over the past couple of days, because I've tried to hold a bit longer, but it is... Let's have a peep. What does it tell me? I have actually had some positions open for quite a while. So it does bizarrely say my average trade duration is a day, which don't think is right, to be honest. It certainly doesn't feel right. But maybe it's because I've been adding to and not closing the position and playing around with it. Yeah. My average trade duration's about 2 hours in these conditions. Oh, that'll be it. I closed some, yeah, okay. Yeah, I closed some longer term trades. So it's probably like, well, this was 30 days and this was an hour. And therefore your average trade duration is X. But yeah, my average trade duration today has been about 10 minutes because I've entered it and the market's dumped. My average trade duration on a normal day when I'm like catching rotations is, yeah, probably an hour or 2 hours. You get spaghetti by asking me nicely to share the link, my brother. And here you go. It's here. But yeah, that's kind of a real-time example of walking through a trade I took on Altcoin. The logic was really simple, actually. I probably didn't cover the logic in terms of low time frame price action. But like when you're looking at this, hopefully it kind of resonates that you've got this consistent series of higher lows. You've got failed breakout, failed breakout, failed breakout, proper breakout, retest offset breakout, run up on relative strength as you're breaking through this. And you know, it's partly about meme diagonals and like baby pips price action, and yeah, people always take the piss out of it, but all you're trying to do is work out what the next, like whether it's a start of a rotation or not, and whether you think it's going to go like that or like that. And the only way that you ever know that is you don't. You can't ever know that. Like someone literally clipped, I don't even know what happened up here, but I was watching it and someone clipped out, must have been like 6 million in a single go or something. It was just like, I was just watching it do absolutely fuck all, and the next second it was like, bop. And it's like, alright, well, what indicator is going to tell you that some cunt halfway around the world has just decided to dump 1% on the open market or whatever? Nothing is going to tell you that, right? But like here, you know, I've told you that my thought process is something like this, because we've got relative weakness, we've got a pretty weak market, because Bitcoin's at 120k now, we're not really seeing any divs, but I don't want to short that. It's a fucking terrible place to short, right? It's terrible. Like, short in range lows? Nah, you're alright, thanks mate. In what has been a relatively strong market as a whole, like, nah, there's just not a trade there. Like, there's just not a trade there, not yet. Whereas if you start breaking the downtrend, giving me some relative strength, you know, if there was a div here, maybe I'd be tempted, and I'd be like playing off a div, but there's not, there's nothing. So, just getting patience. Do I want to see Altcoin at $1 billion? Yeah, of course I do. Great coin, good meme. But, low time frame rotation, aping here is a bit early. Aping here, when you've got a bit of relative strength showing, is much higher EV, in my humble opinion. And look, here you go, you've actually got a little bit of strength coming in, like it's beating Bitcoin. That's what you want to see. It's one of the few, and that's even better, because when it's one of the few that's beating BTC, you kind of go, well, most of the market's trash, and maybe this is going to just start. As soon as a coin starts outperforming on a rotation, it tends to stay the focus for that rotation until Bitcoin starts dumping again. So is that helpful? I know we haven't really covered much of the coins yet, but so yeah, where are we? Let's go, like, what's the kind of next move, next leg on BTC? Like, I've talked about this for a few days, that I just think that there's a lot of fuckery around all-time highs, right? And everyone just thinks that we're gonna break out and run, and it's just gonna be absolute plain sailing, and no one's, you know, everyone just gets to along the top and get a free ride straight up to 150k. Now, I do not think the top is in for what it's worth. I think that we go higher. I'm happy to be bullish at the top. I've said it many times. I said it when we were here. I said it when we were here. You know, I said it when we were here. I'll kind of say it pretty much every time. I'm still long from wherever we longed it before, down here in 90k or whatever it is. And I don't have any intention of selling those Bitcoins like anytime soon unless we meaningfully lose 10k, which we talked about on pretty much every stream, right? And that this region here was always the kind of support high time frame. So you've got these two tests into it. We talked about it last week in terms of if it holds, then it's going to be really time to pay attention, which we did, and it was. And now, we're at these former highs, and I think the worst possible scenario for most of CT is we just range, right? Or we pull back down to here, or we put that. Let's do that line properly, shall we? We pull back into the former consolidation here, or the much deeper pullback down to here. Now, I don't think it's as likely, and I don't think that this move is particularly clean. I think that we will get Chop City around here, like something like this. I think I drew it on one of these, but I've probably subsequently deleted it. And the reason that I think that is like we had very much similar, like here. You look at this in terms of like breakouts, and we run up to the highs. That's 3 taps to the highs, 1, 2, 3, and then we sell off. So you sell off, you do something like that. But we are in a bit of a stronger environment, I would say, than we were back here. And then maybe we get a bit more chop, don't know, but I actually think we get less. I think we then push up and we go eventually, right? But I think you're probably looking at 4 or 5 taps of this before we actually start running it turbo. So, alright Charlie, that's great. That's fucking a lot of mumbo jumbo. How do we trade this? What do we do? What's our next position? I've said this for a long time. I don't want to trade near all-time highs. I don't want to be entering a fucking position up here. This is the worst possible place. Literally the worst possible place to take on risk. A breakout trade on Bitcoin, up here, is just a terrible idea in my opinion. I do not like it one bit, right? I just don't do well with breakout trades on Bitcoin often. Now, when it is in a downtrend, back down here, we did, because it was very obvious in terms of we're breaking a downtrend, right? So that bit was obvious. Where it's going to go after, no idea, as we've said before. But when you're betting on the break of a downtrend because you've started a change in market structure, my experience is on Bitcoin, that's a much higher probability of playing out than trying to essentially long into a massive demand zone. Yeah? There's a load of demand set up here. There's a load of sellers that want to just fucking clear their inventory, and longing into that. It's not like a shitty altcoin, right? Where shitty altcoins, the market makers must see it and go, there's up in my inventory. I don't like this particularly. Retail apes are just going to fucking throttle this up. Fuck this. Let's move aside and let's let it run for a bit, and then let's dump on their heads. Yeah? Whereas Bitcoin isn't like that. Bitcoin seems to be, it doesn't seem to be like the BitMEX days where you just drew a box over it and said, okay, this is support and resistance. I don't feel like Bitcoin respects TA as much. That's my honest review and opinion, which is why I'm just kind of more of a buyer and holder these days, or I will take risk on a kind of change in trend or a breakout down here, which is what we played last time, right? But that was because contextually, there was a massive difference. It really mattered because there was the election. It was kind of 50-50. Is it Trump, Kamala, whatever? If Trump, then we go up. If Kamala, then down. And down here, you had a stop here, and it was a really good risk-reward trade, even if you were taking it on a 50-50 basis, right? Everyone thought it was going to go to 100k, and it did. That worked out really, really well. So, yeah, I can't see anything like that at this point in time, and I think there are better trades available than Bitcoin in general for the vast majority of people. I think altcoin rotations are the best way of playing this market when they are so hot, but I am biased because that's how I've traded for years. So, yeah, I think if you look at, even if you long the Pico bottom down here, right? If you long the Pico bottom down here and you sell the Pico top, you get 68%, right? Nice. Lovely. Really, really good. Big liquidity. You're probably not going to wake up minus 50% one day. But I actually longed the dip here on Asta, and I was a pussy with my stop. I had it pretty much down here, and I got stopped there. So, boo-hoo, cry Charlie. But you can get 50% in a couple of days on a very liquid alt, which really, my entry was literally here. And I was a greedy bastard with my stops. It was one of the things I generally need to work on. Because I am so tight. I mean, it's the downside of being an accountant, you know. You can never get it out your blood. It's like you're just tight as fuck when it comes to anything. So we went sofa shopping because I told my wife how much I earn last week, and she was like, "Wow, we need a new sofa." It's like, it's a year old. We don't need a fucking new sofa. Jesus Christ. But guess what we've got? A new sofa. Woohoo! I'm so excited. That's what I spend days in front of the computer for, to buy new sofas. I'm just old. I'm an old man now. Let's have a peep. Where was it? Where was this bitch? Just kind of show you that, you know, I don't want to sort of come off as, here we go, always sharing winners and all this stuff. Couldn't paste. This image is way too large. What? Shut up. Shut up. There you go. So yeah, look at that stop placement. So aggressive. I was like, bosh. And then it just ran. But that, you know, that was like literally the Pico highs. I did play it again. So I did play it. You know, I'm not afraid to try the same coin twice. So I caught this one, and I was gonna close it here, which was wherever it was, like 230. Well, no, I was going to close it at 190, I think, and then I pulled it up and said, let's just do it. Let's close it when we lose our like meme diagonal trend, to try and eke a bit more out of it rather than like 18%. But either way, my point being that, you know, you could do 50% in a few days. I actually think Asta looks as a strong contender for like next leg up anyway. So if I delete all that and just start it again, you've got a really clean pivot across here, like really clean. You've got a pretty nice meme diagonal across here, which just shows you that whenever price dips significantly, if buyers are willing to step in and they form this higher low. And similarly here. So I'm really looking at and trying to get on board the next run of Asta, because I just think that if you look at this suppression here, it's very, very clean. And as soon as it broke through here, you know, it got bumped back down here, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 attempts at the same level, whilst bulls start stepping back in. You know, I don't think it's too long before this sends again. So yeah, very kind of bullish on it, but don't quite have a bag, so I need to jump in. I've already played 2 trades on it, lost 1, 1, 1. And the one that I won was like 80, it was 18% originally. It ran up to like 34%. I think I got out about 28%. And the original stop was a couple of percent. So, you know, you net them up. When you catch one, it really pays for all the failures. So yeah, potentially looking at something like this on Asta. ETH, I think someone asked earlier about ETH. And for me, like, this was the retest that I wanted on ETH. And I kind of wanted it here. And I got it, but it just ran. And now I'm at this weird position where it's like, well, I wanted this retest, but, and there's always a but. When you start thinking about the local trend, and you start thinking, okay, well, Charlie, this is, you know, this is a nice little retest of your meme level, but we've really broken out of this trend. And for me, when it starts getting like that, it's a bit scary just to like blind long levels. And I put this on to try and like be objective. And what this tells me is 2 things. There's firstly a retest of the 50 on RSI is actually quite bullish. So that's, you know, normal trending conditions. You get pullbacks, right? The further up we go, the further we pull back. Like that, if we have, so sorry, I'll illustrate that a bit better. So first pullback, 10, 20%, run it up again, second pullback, at least 30%, maybe 40%, final pullback, you know, it's over. Yeah. And these will always get worse because there'll be more levered apes. There'll be more people to punish from like market makers' perspective, the evil market makers. I know they don't work like that, but I'm just, forming the narrative. But yeah, it's quite tough for me to buy spot anything anymore, because whilst this looks like a very comfy trade, when I look at this and it tells me your coin has got relative strength, I breathe a sigh of relief and I hold it and I just go, I'm holding one of the best coins in the market. SDBL here, like, this is, I'm not, saying go buy it, but like, what an absolute ripper. Let's have a look at SDBL, because it actually doesn't look too bad. I've kind of wanted a bag of this for a little while. It looks like we're bouncing from this like demand cluster down here, but I'm probably not brave enough to buy it whilst it's looking like this. So structurally, it does look quite nice, and I'm not buying it while I'm on stream because that's just rude. Every time I've traded like on stream, I know it was not last stream, it was a stream before. I think I bought like some MYX or something, and I thought I'd closed it, and I came back to it, and it was like 7 grand down or something. I was like, whoops, I thought I closed it. Thought I put a stop on. I was like, oh, evidently not. Oh well. What was it? SDBL, yeah, that was, so that's, yeah, running. Really nice. Don't know, they've probably got an announcement or something, but this tells you the news before Twitter does, right? What we got? We got anyone, we got useless. Let's see, anyone. Yeah, anyone was pretty wild. As soon as like the privacy narrative started, I tweeted this, and within about 2 seconds, somebody aped $1 million into it, and it just fucking ran up to these highs. If the privacy narrative continues, it should be pretty good to play out, but obviously, it's pulled back a hell of a lot. But that was a pretty inorganic move, so I'm not surprised it retraced it. Like, it literally just went boom in a single candle, which is pretty wild. Useless, I think, is absolutely top banana. Like, even now, range reclaims are going to be your best bet on trend continuation, I think. What we got? We got Cake. Oh yeah, Cake's running like a motherfucker. We did a 2x on launch coin way back here, and then ran it up to here. I actually sold these highs, and I've still got my short open from these highs. I do not know for the life of me why they didn't sweep this high, but they didn't, so I've still got my short open, which was essentially from this parabolic run up. And anyone who's been here for a while will know I love the parabola into the lower high and then into the big sell-off. I wanted to flip long here. I had the plan. I put it in the Paragon, and I missed it. I was asleep. It was too early for me. I literally ran 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was napping in Betty Bye-Byes, so didn't catch it. But this is what I mean. Like, these rotations are here, and if you are playing with spaghetti, 30% in a couple of days, fucking wild. If you can catch that. I mean, obviously, you're not necessarily going to do it with 100% of your balance. You're going to manage it based on your risk percentage, but yeah, like, there's some amazing setups out there. I'm gonna get rid of this one. Let's peep. So have you guys got any requests? Oh, Bert's shit in the bed, bad dog. But yeah, that's been nice. Even if it was 0.6 whatever, it went like 50% from there. So if anyone aped that, hopefully you made some money. If you didn't, well, not sure I can help you, to be honest. Bitcoin on somewhat high. Breakout trade's been unsuccessful since the 70k to 100k run. Yeah, every single one is retraced within 2 days. Yeah. Hope it's comfortable at least. Yeah, true. Lol, the 1-year-old sofa. Yeah. What's your target for STBL? I don't really have a target, to be honest. I think you've got a big resistance, a big pivot across here, which the reason I think that is, we basically blasted through. There was this here, so I'd probably drag that down a couple of cents. But all I use these for, right? I don't use this for, I'm going to buy at this exact penny. I use it for, this is where sellers stepped in. This is where buyers stepped in. Sellers got stopped here. This is where buyers stepped in. This is where we crashed down, even though we had like buyer support here. This is where we had a first rejection there, and then a deviation, and then we came back under. So it's just a real pivotal point in the chart. It's just telling a story with price. That's all it's doing. You know, and if you were really bullish on SDBL and this whole stablecoin narrative, you'd be looking at it something like this, right? Your first test is is it going to reject that and just come back? And if it does that, I'd probably close at break even, yeah, assuming you even capture that and it doesn't just do this and stop you out because it's a wee market. But your invalidation is literally this going. And that's what I mean is like you're taking a trade based on A, relative strength, which is like the main precursor of it, and then B, price action. So you're saying, well, I don't want it to come back and sweep these lows, otherwise this relative strength is just bullshit, yeah? It means that that relative strength doesn't really exist. Man, half of the coins I haven't actually heard of. Let's do cards. I think someone shilled this last stream, actually. It's probably you. I mean, it's had a really nice run. Back down to the lows. From a PA perspective, it's pretty difficult because all you've got is, you know, a series of... Oh, wow, that was bad. I'm not going to play any CS tonight then. A series of, you know, strong trending moves. It's downtrending. It's uptrending. It's downtrending. There's no, like, real consolidations and, like, ranges, you know. Very, very janky. This is what I'd call, like, a spot bag. You don't trade it ever. You just look at it and you go, well, do I believe in cards? Do I believe in whatever they're doing in terms of like tokenizing Pokemon cards and all that kind of jazz? And if you do, then great. And you want some exposure to it, then great. But I wouldn't be buying this until there's a change of trend in terms of structure, yeah? So there's loads of stuff down there in terms of like, not stuff, sorry. There's loads of ways to do this in terms of like, you can use some trend following stuff. You can use the publicly available, what's it called? TraderXO trend scanner. I've got some settings on that. And what I mean by that is this is pretty fast. Like you need to go through and find something that fits it better because of the structure of the coin. And look, here you go. This makes more sense that it's bearish from here, which is a little bit late to be honest, but whatever. As soon as you get under the EMAs, you should be a little bit worried. So here you're in a downtrend, and structurally, market structure, it's a downtrend. You know, it's all kind of telling you that it's pretty weak. From an RSI perspective, it can get over the 50. It's a weak shit coin at the moment, yeah? But that can all change very quickly. Same kind of logic as we applied with Farcoin, right? We've got a downtrend. We've got some EMAs. If we start breaking EMAs, if we start showing a bit of relative strength, then you've got a potential entry, and then you just need to decide how much you're willing to risk and, you know, how you're going to size that and target it. You know, and I can help you with that because from a technical perspective, it just looks pretty shit right now. And the reason that I say that is what you normally get is you get like this is the former high. You normally get a retest of that former high, and then you get like a bit of, how do we call it? A bit of a consolidation. Yeah, we'll call it consolidation. We'll be nice about it. Before it then runs off again. Now, this isn't really a consolidation. This is a downtrending move, and it is pretty bluntly, you know, a rejection of the former highs. It's not anything great. You know, I don't want to long a chart that's doing this. I want to long a chart that's kind of gone up, done this, come back down. That is higher than this, and we're starting to go. The worst thing, and I actually did it today on XPL. This is how hungover I must have been, because here's a losing trade for you. We mapped out this at the start of the day, as I normally do, and I go through a load of charts and go, all right, well, structurally, everyone is shitting on this. Now, I avoided all the drawdown on this. I didn't fucking do shit over here, right? Well, all the CT was trying to long this on every fucking dip. Yeah, I was not. I think I tried it here. Might have tried a rotation in here, but I'm not sure if I talked about it. And, you know, here was my first kind of attempt at this. And the rationale is pretty simple. You know, we've had this huge sell-off, massive downtrend. You can put an EMA on it and it'll tell you it's bullish, yeah? And structurally, from a market structure perspective, we've started that shift. We've started that's the low, here's a higher high, here's a higher low, here's a higher high, etc, yeah? This is where it changed, we've pulled back, and then if you go to like a 4-hour chart, at the time, it looked like a good piece of change, or a good pullback, and a change in structure. At support, we actually had some relative strength in there, so it was, you know, a few factors lining up, saying, Charlie, this is looking pretty sexy. And then Bitcoin decided to go, nope, go fuck yourself. So yeah, took an L on that one. But hopefully you see the thought process of, here's a load of price action, here's a trade idea, and it didn't work out, but I only lost a tiny amount. Obviously I didn't lose 3% of my balance, right? I lost 0.8%, I think. But that's a downtrend. That's a consolidation. That is a breakout of that consolidation. And to bring it back to cards, which I was ranting about and you requested, that is just a downtrend. So yeah, maybe this keeps going, and then maybe it does something like this, and then it does that, and then that's when you get in. That's kind of how I like to think of it. Thoughts on Bert staking? I mean, I'll be honest, like, I don't like staking coins. That's just a personal preference. I think it's, and that's actually, oh no, I'll tell you why. It's because I bought something called Syncus, which you probably remember a long time ago. Let's have a look. And I made the fool's error. Let's talk about it. So I staked this. I think, I can't remember how much it was at the top, but it was like maybe 400 or 500k, something like that. Can't be that. I don't know why it hasn't got the whole chart there, because I'm pretty sure it went much higher than like 4 mil market cap or something. Maybe I'm being a tard. I'm gonna just do the same thing like again and again. Odd. But either way, the chart for Sync was like this, right? I'll just doodle it. It was like this. It was about like 2-3 million market cap, and they just had this like Ponzi of like, oh, if you stake, you get rewards and blah blah blah. Anyway, I bought some. I started tweeting about it, and it just started going like this. It literally fucking went like wee like that. And then they started doing like, you know, lock up, get some rewards, blah blah blah. I was like, all right, well, I'll stick some in there. But this was about here. I was like, I'll stick like half of it in there or something. So I sold like my other half up here somewhere, and then it literally just fucking went boom. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, now I've got like £500,000 in this staking thing, and I was like, probably think about taking some out. I left it a couple of days, and then the chart went like that. And they had introduced a withdrawal tax for unstaking of 50% or something of your like holdings. It was like, oh, wow, there goes $250,000. And then you go, oh, yeah, well, price is halved. And you're like, oh, there goes another 125k. And you're like, ooh, that was spicy. And then it just literally like fucking went to zero, as you can imagine. But yeah, it's foul. Yeah. It was pretty like, it's pretty wild. And it's like, oh, I got my initial out up here somewhere. So I was kind of okay, but I was like, fuck, I've tweeted about this and stuff. But anyway, it's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those. So that's my personal story about why I don't particularly like staking. But on the other hand, I used to have a load of smart cash, and you didn't have to stake it with smart cash. You just got sent rewards, which was mental. And every day you'd get sent like a load of smart cash depending on how much you held. So me and my mates were printing like £1,000 a day, which back in 2017 to us was like, holy shit, we're going to be billionaires. And yeah, as you can imagine, sending everybody huge percentages of your supply every day. Once the bull market ended, it just went like that. But yeah, that wasn't stake, that was just you hold the coins. But yeah. Not all staking coins would go through that though. You think Bert could? I don't think Bert would. No, that's my honest opinion. But I'm not staking any of my coins, so it's not my risk. I genuinely don't believe that would happen. But obviously I can't guarantee it. I'm not the Bert team or anything like that. I just have a massive bag of it, so... Nor am I a smart contractor or anything like that. I'm, in fact, a dumb contractor in terms of, if you're talking about smart contract risk, I'm a fucking retard. So yeah, if you want to do it, man. Like, if it does two things for you: one, it gives you a little bit of APR, like some free tokens and shit, and two, well, it does three things, I guess. It stops you from, like, dumping your bag, and three, it just reduces supply and makes the kind of visuals of what could be sold much better, the optics of the project. So, but it's not something I've done. So, fair, just PTSD. Yeah, but it is also a risk, right? You have to think, in a lot of these, you're risking 100% for maybe 12% APR. Or 20%, even if you get 20%, right? You get 20% APR, lock it up for half a year, let's say. So you're getting 10% on your 100k, let's just call it 100k. And it's 100k at the point you put it in, and you've got to withstand 6 months of volatility in the altcoin market to get your 10k. So you're taking a 10k bet that the market isn't going to move, 10% against you, etc. And for me, it's like, well, I kind of like having the freedom of being able to sell, even if I don't want to. Unless you're going to say, like, I'll double your bag over time, in which case I'll be like, where the fuck are the rewards coming from? Where's that yield coming from? As the meme goes. Yeah, I just don't think staking's the way in general. But I think Bert is good coin. First real test of weakness. But yeah, I thought this was going to break up, to be honest, when I looked at it this morning. Hence why I tweeted it. I thought this little meme triangle, I was like, well, in an uptrend, should break up. And then obviously Daddy Bitcoin decided, no. You will not pass go, you will not collect your $200, etc. Yeah, pump ripping. Pump doing nicely. 4 forces 4-year hold? Yeah, that's true. You loathe CZ? Ah, that's crazy, man. CZ's a legend. You're always taking withdrawal advantages if you can farm the fuck out of it early days, very high returns, and then often you're better off selling your earnings quick. Yeah, 100%. So I actually did a couple of these, like, what was it, like the BSC season, like in 2020 or whatever it was. We did a few, like, crazy APR yields. I didn't really understand it all. My friend was just like, ape this, lock up like $1,000 worth of tokens, or like 10,000 or $5,000 worth of tokens. I don't think I did 10. And we did. And then you'd just be getting like $500-600 every epoch, or like 8 hours. And, it pays for itself within a week, and then you're free riding. And then within about 3 weeks, it goes to zero. But you've had fun, and that's what counts. What else do you want to look at? Sorry, I've jumped around. We've covered XPL, WLD. I think you probably ask me this every week. I've got a feeling you do. Someone's just smashed a nice buy-in on old Altcoin, I can see. Are we getting any relative strength? 1 minute. Christ, what am I doing? Sorry, it's so hard to do multiple things at once. I am male. Filecoin pretty shit. Pun absolutely intended. I'm locking into the pivot point. I'm seeing what's moved versus BTC, STBL doing really well, Asta, CRV, SPX, all outperforming Bitcoin. Filecoin, which is this purple one here, not particularly outperforming Bitcoin. So if you're better off long in Bitcoin, fucking long Bitcoin. And this is what I always think of as like, is it an alt rotation or not? Or is it just Bitcoin? Like when the market's had a big sell-off, typically it's quite slow to risk back on with alts. So it's kind of like, I want to buy the bottom, but the market's pretty risk off. Or not risk off, it's just a little bit more cautious, like in a real strong pullback. Like this is a brutal pullback. Yeah, this is a few percent off the highs. You know, we've scared all the hoes. I actually said to Doc yesterday, I said, let's have a look. What did he say? Oh yeah. Yeah, unless we get a scare the hose day. It was Doc that said it. I was fucking so drunk I thought I said it. Yeah, there we go. What have we got? WLD. I mean, this is like a classic. If this is a 4-hour chart, it's really depressing, right? You know, it could be a big J curve, like it could be this, if there's a reason to get excited about it. But at the moment, there's just nothing. There's just like, this is a range low, and we've sold off from that range low, and there's no real relative strength. Like, to get excited about this, though, you can check like the whole crypto market. Like, I'm a perpetual bull, so please don't take me slagging off your bags as something really negative, right? I can be wrong about trades as well. I'm wrong about them often. So don't, you know, take this as gospel or anything. But until it reclaims, just not interested. I wouldn't even have this on my radar. I would have this on relative strength and see like, oh, if we get some relative strength. I don't want to be the first person at the party. I want to make sure that I'm arriving to the right one and that it's kind of in progress. Yeah, I don't buy bottoms. It's just not me. It's not my trading style. And because I found much more success, like I could time the bottom 1 in 10 times. Yeah, I can time a rotation 1 in 3 in the last couple of weeks. I've been like 70% win rate, I think. So that's pretty wild. And that's probably one of my highest, like, well, I think it is my highest consecutive win rate across, you know, a 30-day period. 69%. Happy days. Giggity giggity. Bosh. You know, that's pretty fucking good for me because of how often I'll take a trade and I will go, you know, nope, don't like this, close. And occasionally it'll carry on and play out in the direction that I thought it would, but, you know, it's impossible to get it right all the time. But that is, yeah, it's very wild. And here, you know, it's just weak. If you're longing this, it's just weak. Yeah, we talked about stable. It's just running. Yeah, there you go. So we did do one. There you go. See? A little bit of relative strength. How's progress on my scanner coming on? Good question, Jimoku. Fucking terribly. Because I've been trading massively over the last few days. And yeah, I think that's the big problem at the moment, is that I'm too focused on trading, which isn't really a problem. It's a blessing, right? You got to make the most of these conditions. I said for weeks and months, I banged on at people like, you know, put the education in, put the time in front of the screens. Like, I'll be blunt. We've seen an influx of people joining the Paragon, yeah. And I always find it really bizarre that when people want to learn to trade up here, right? And I always say, like, no. When conditions are like this is when you need to be locked in and trading. Like, it's great that you're here, like, looking at this stream and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I really appreciate you being here. And to be fair, this moment in time is probably a really good time to be here and stuff. But when we're in like chop consolidation periods, when total 2 isn't moving at all, when alts aren't doing 10-15% rotations, that's when your time is best, you know, invested in watching videos, learning, practicing, going, well, why would I have longed here? What system could I use to long this? Well, I took profit here. what would make me hold it more? Is it, you know, meme diagonals? Is it, I think this is a great entry? Is it high time frame range and supports? Is it just a simple like EMA system on like a daily time frame or something like that? What is going to make me hold for longer? Because that's my big problem that I need to work on. And in those down times, you invest in that. Add some indicators, you know, to your repertoire. Add a scanner in. You know, I'm looking at like breakouts, and like I said, it's fucking shit for Bitcoin, but for dog shit altcoins. Hello, Zero IQ Redact. Good evening, KB. But, you know, I was thinking I could stick this script on all Binance, excuse me, on all Binance tickers. Oh, I must have moved it. Oh, my apologies. Just a big sneeze. Yeah, like I could stick this indicator on a couple of on all the Binance tickers and catch some scams early, right? I mean, I never did it because I was too busy trading. But you know, you look at this, and it would have caught the apex breakout, would have signaled it several times. So you start looking at this and you go, well, actually, you're building this out as a system and building this out as like a series of alerts. That could be really handy. But I don't want to do that now because the market's flying. Okay, yeah, I had a pullback today, which is kind of overdue because we're a bit euphoric and so on and so forth. But, you know, that would have been really handy to catch some of the rotations on Binance. And you build when it's boring and you learn when it's boring. It's not saying don't join the group now. You know, I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm just saying that when you've got the time, you know, time is a precious resource, and I'm trading the fuck out of these markets because they're active and because they're volatile. Less so today because I'm hungover as fuck, but you know, we don't get these conditions often. It seems like, it feels like we get them for like a couple of weeks in every 3 months, yeah? But next time it's boring, and next time it slows down a bit. Certainly come along. You know, we've had this wonderful up move here. We talked about it last stream, I think, which is if this is the low in terms of total crypto market cap, you know, we've run it up to the highs. This was this resistance. If this was the Bitcoin chart, we're going to do that, and then we're going to come back up. Do you know what I mean? Like the pain if that happens will be unreal. I did see one take actually that I quite liked on Twitter, which I think was Blank Brain, and he said it's almost like everyone here is positioning for an up only Q4, and the most entertaining outcome would be something like this, like literally we just send it down into like mid to late October, like really badly, and then everyone gets like completely disheartened, and then we just literally go fully vertical because, you know, we start printing money and doing all this stuff, and we just go like full-blown mania for like a month, but punish people first. No, I got no major view, but I just found that quite entertaining. I'm going to trade the charts. Like, I think a pullback is natural at the highs after a pretty clean 4-hour div, but what do I know? Should I long or short with your full port? Or what asset? Give me an asset at least. I mean, the only trade that I would recommend to anyone with their dirty fiat is this. Look, man, I'm called Bitcoin Charlie, right? Like, if you came in not expecting some bullish propaganda, $31. That seems pretty reasonable as a low. That's the lifelong trade. That's the lifelong trade. Only ever 21 million of them. AKA buy my bags. Rotok is saying W. I don't know if he's got like some sort of nervous disposition where he just spams W in his chat. People just like drop tickers, don't they, man? Just bang. Us British are so polite. Excuse me, dear sir, could you please chart this ticker? It'd be wonderful because I have a long position in it. You might need to give me a little bit more info than just W. Like, I'm long W. Well, does this look like a good long? I don't like W too much because, once again, charted a great setup and I didn't take it. Charlie, thoughts on KMNO? Ah, well, kind sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. Again, with all this stuff, right? And there was actually a lot of W strength on relative strength this morning. But I didn't play the breakout on it because it's pretty illiquid on the perp side. The only kind of concern that I've got about, or would have about this chart, you know, we're still like in that uptrending channel, blah, 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 is essentially across here. And like, if we come back into here, I'd just be like, I'd probably just take some profit off and just enjoy the dub. Do you know what I mean? When I originally did, it kind of reminds me a bit of Launchcoin. And when I originally did Launchcoin, so it was something like, and I'll get this wrong, but the structure is like a quite janky, like Launchcoin. I think it was like this, and someone will probably correct me, but it was like that. And I had like an astronomical kind of target up there, and it was like, yeah, it was like 200% or something. So whatever, you get the principle. And as soon as we had like Parabola and we broke from it, I was like, yeah, do you know what? And we lost relative strength as well. And someone clipped out, like, there was this massive sale. So I was really lucky that I was kind of sat here watching it. Like, it literally went up and it went down. I sent it to a friend, actually. It went down like 10% in about 4 seconds. It was just like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, all right, the entire rest of the market did nothing. And I was like, yeah, that's fucking weird. At the end of a parabolic run, I'll fucking clap out of that. But anyway, my point being that, like, you can change your trade thesis as price action presents new information to you. And like structurally, you know, here you've got a series of higher lows and it's really, really nice. And if it continues to do so here, like this might be an add, actually. You might add to your position and effectively compound it and do something like this. Maybe a little bit higher on the stop because we've talked about this. I'm a stingy accountant. I would take the stop under there, whatever, and compound it because it's decent. But if you start losing this diagonal and if you start losing like this pivot and stuff, like here's where I'd be really tempted to just kind of get out of it and take some profit off the table, especially if no strength returns to the general market like Bitcoin. So that's kind of W. Same as on my W on pump. Yeah, fair mate. Like, not a bad, like I like as a kind of trend follower. So when you have price action that sort of does this and comes back down and goes like this, I like using the former highs as like a pivot point, as a rotation point for my trading, because in theory, in strong trending conditions, you know, that acts as almost like an anchor for price, because last run we got it to this price. This run we've surpassed that price, and then if we sell off and we come under it, that's kind of my, well, Charlie, it's not going faster than this. That was the high of this rotation. Otherwise, it gets a bit janky, right? And similarly here, just to bring it back to W, you know, you've got on this rotation here, you've got this run up, you've got this sell off, you've got this come back into this little mini range, and then you've got it selling off out of that little mini range. So, you know, it's definitely changed in terms of structure. And yeah, I'll just delete all this stuff because it's a bit messy. But it's so janky. Again, this looks like a liquid fucking dog shit, but as soon as you get a break of that from a structure perspective, it probably just scams and does something like this, right? Again, I don't really like trading this kind of massively illiquid shite. Let's zoom out a bit, Jesus Christ. KMNO. How do I recognize that? I mean, not bad in the sense of it's leaving an accumulation range and so on and so forth, but really not much in terms of relative strength, is there? Unless you're bullish on this from a massively like fundamental perspective, you know, useless is just absolutely ripping. Like most alts, just risk off and dull. STBL still flying. So yeah, I don't really. It's just not something that excites me, to be honest. Could easily just scam though. You know, had a nice scam before. So like I said, if you're fundamentally bullish on it, it's great that it's broken out of this massive accumulation range. ZRO, SOP. It's funny that like you guys trade other coins that I just don't. Yeah, again, like this is one where you kind of hope it's gonna scam and break out, right? Like how'd you trade that on purpose? Like, yeah. Just looks illiquid as fuck, but you know, if you get a breakout on relative strength, I'm assuming that if this is like a BSC coin or something, then you might get away with it. You might get away with a big scam move. But again, it would have to be on some decent low time frame relative strength for me to even consider that. I mean, it's nice that it's popped out, but you compare this chart to so many other ones, right? Where it's actually got a really good movement. Even stuff like Altcoin. Both have same VC invested crime. Yeah, fair enough. If you're going for the crime pattern, then yeah, why not? Me and some friends played. What was it the other day? He put it in the in a chat. Ooh, what was it? Was it this one? No. One of these. I'm sure it began with a C. Let's have a look. Oh no, it wasn't. It was EVP or some shit. EPT, was it that? Yeah, it was this. Yeah, it was this. He put it in the group chat and was like, lads, I think I found the next thing. And to be fair to him, he put it in at like here. I think we all like jumped in like here, and I was like, this is fucking wrong. And this is with small size, by the way, so it's like, don't, you know. And I was like, this just feels fucking, yeah, it was here. I got in here because I remember it crashed back down to my entry, and I was like, oh, this is fucking awkward. I was like, is that how it's gonna be? Is it like this massive fucking dump in a single minute candle? Like instantly, it was like just, you know, bang, there goes 10%. And then it was like it pushed away, and I sold up here or something, and then it just went whoom again straight back to entry, and I was like, oh, I'll have a little bit more, I'll have another go, because it had a little range, and it was like, hey, and I sold somewhere up here, and I was like, oh, that was fun. That was like, you know, scalping with shackles, just for fun to try and play one of these scam coins. But a lot of the boys were like, yeah, cheers, mate. We just lost a fuck ton on this because it just literally went, you know, boom. I think they closed, and then it went boom, and it's like they closed, and then it like ran again. And it's just one of those things where, like, if you're, and it kind of is one of those lessons where if you're up a reasonable amount and you take some off, like, you're probably never going to feel bad about it, even if it runs. You've still got some cash in your pocket, right? And I got really lucky with the sell up here in particular because I was like, we should keep this going really, because it's just like proper scam oozing. But yeah, it's now dead, and there's been a lot of moves like this on Binance, hasn't there? A lot of them. now stable is scaring you? Well, you know, it was there. It was in front of you. It was on spaghetti. It was, I assume there's some news, some big partnership or some bullshit to get people excited, which is why everyone's like, it's fucking bosh it in. Lovely, lovely job. But that is the power of spaghetti. Brought you live. Yeah, like, you're just watching for levels, really. And reactions to those levels. Like, the market in general is very fucking weak. Like, if you look at this rotation compared to pretty much any other rotation, so like, since this low down here, alts have just got battered. You know, Bitcoin is #1. That is really, really, really bad for risk on appetite. Really bad. A new strategic advisor from Binance board? Yeah, I told you there'd be some news. Funny, isn't it? It's like, I don't know how to put it really. It's everyone says like, oh well, you can't possibly know like the news from the chart. It's like, well, no, the chart is influenced by the news, and yeah, you could see it. Yeah, I think we're going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, it's been a fun day. Don't, you know, go massively Pete Tong on things. I think I'm a bit nervous that the worst isn't behind us. And I know that that's like, oh, bear market PTSD and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is that this lack of risk on alts, bear me 1 second, I'll turn that off. This lack of risk on alts on a rotation basis is pretty scary. That's not what you want to see. And I've been saying like all day, I want to just see a little bit of like relative strength. I want to see some risk come back to the market, and it's just not there. You know, anyone's there, but it's not the most liquid a coin. It's a great coin, but it's not like, you know, super liquid compared to like fart coin or something like that. And the fact that everything's massively under Bitcoin is just, yeah. Insiders will be the first to show you what's going to happen before the news comes out. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thank you all for being here, guys. If you enjoyed the stream, tell your nan about it. I'm sure she'd love it too. Like and subscribe and do all that stuff. It really helps me out. And I've got a little personal objective, which is really sad, I know, for like a grown-ass man, but whatever. To get to... What am I trying to get to? 6,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. So if you have enjoyed the content and you've liked it, then please drop me a little sub, even if you don't, you know, watch me every week or whatever. Mean a lot. Just, yeah. And of course, sign up to telemetry by BonkBot and have a little play around, because if my theory is right of on-chain on Solana coming back in a big way once people have rinsed BNB and BSC season, then again, you want to be like prepared with the tools and you want to be ready for it, as opposed to, oh, everything's kicking off, let's jump in. That's the worst time. All right, be early to things. It makes things a lot easier. Anyway, thank you all for your time. I will love you and leave you, and I'll see you again next week. Au revoir.